Hey, welcome everyone to the Citizens Guide. So excited for you to be joining us. On today's episode, Connor and I will discuss the second impeachment of Donald Trump, President-elect Joe Biden's COVID relief plan, the upcoming inauguration, and explore why common perceptions about the Capitol insurrectionists are not necessarily true. And that section is based on an article out of The Atlantic. But first, Connor, do you have any housekeeping? Do you want to plug our YouTube channel, our TikTok, maybe our Instagram?
Yeah,
Just take it away.
watch out on all social media feeds for Citizens Guide content. I'm pretty sure it's just the Citizens Guide on TikTok and YouTube. Be sure to check those out for the video portions of our shows. And TikTok's more just like little bits of content that we pull out. So give us a follow, like, subscribe on all relevant platforms, and continue listening to the unabridged audio version wherever you get your podcasts.
That's right.
And then
Yeah, Connor has
also,
been putting. Oh, go
oh,
ahead.
exciting news as well, that this is going to be our last episode not not in my childhood bedroom.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Good
yeah.
point. Personal announcements. I move in on Tuesday
Mm-hmm.
to Rhodes,
To
and
Rhodes.
Connor moves in a week from today
A
to
week from today
Rhodes
to Rhodes.
into the same room.
Mm-hmm.
Um, very excited
Yeah.
about that. So yeah, hopefully we'll
Big
be
news
coming
on
to
our
you soon.
studio reveal.
Yeah, from the same space that I will spend the week decorating.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Connor's been putting in some hard work, bringing our content to some more spaces and just spreading the Citizens God love, just as far as we can. Okay, Connor, first up, we have the second impeachment of Donald Trump. Just a few little facts about that. It was a single article for incitement of insurrection. The vote in the House was 232 to 197. It was the most bipartisan impeachment in history, with 10 Republican House members joining with Democrats to vote against the president. And that included Liz Cheney, who is number 3 in House Republican leadership. What do you think? Was this
It
impactful in
seems like
any
it
way?
happened like 2 weeks ago. You could have told me last week is a blur. Everything since the insurrection is a blur. A little disheartening that it wasn't more, that the Liz Cheney news didn't incite more of a flood of Republican votes. It was just a trickle, it turned out. But nevertheless, it is important, as we discussed with Matthew, to hold the executive accountable and to have the legislative expand their push against becoming and being recognized as a co-equal branch of the government.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was necessary, and like you said, it feels like it happened months ago, which he was, of course, impeached about a year ago for the call with Ukraine. And then, so of course, now that we're all experts on impeachment proceedings, Connor, you and I, you mentioned that we have lived through fully 50% of all the impeachments in American history. Our parents, not to age them, have lived through Clinton's was recent. Anyway, they've lived through 3/4. And then if you throw Nixon in there, there's just been a lot of stuff in the last half century or so where presidents either were impeached or came dangerously close to it. So now it gets tossed over to the Senate, where it will not be taken up while Donald Trump is still in office. Obviously, it's January 17th, Sunday. He leaves office at 12:01 p.m. on Wednesday. So just really not enough time to hold a trial. But a few things. Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois, who is the Democratic whip in the Senate, so he's in charge of making sure vote counts are proper and all Democrats are on board for stuff, said that he will not be whipping votes for conviction of the president, and that impeachment and conviction are two serious matters for the party to try to twist people's arms or anything like that. So everyone is meant to kind of vote their conscience. I don't know what Republicans are going to do. I don't know who their whip is, or if they'll be whipping votes in favor of the president. And so, of course, Chief Justice John Roberts will oversee the process in the Senate, and 67 votes are required to convict, which means 50 Democratic members would have to be joined by 17 Republicans. A handful have already signaled that they might support conviction, Mitt Romney, Lisa Murkowski. And then after the conviction vote, they have the choice to bar the president from holding a position of public trust within the federal government in the future, and that would just be a simple majority vote. So a group of Republicans could convict him for the crimes committed on January 6th, but then say, no, we don't want to bar him from running again, but there's enough Democrats in the Senate to bar him from running again. So I don't know that that's even going to matter. What do you think the odds are, Connor, of a conviction?
If it was a private ballot or something like that where the names were concealed, I bet he would be convicted. But as I've heard on news, this is not a West Wing moment. There's not going to be some strong bipartisan consensus to convict. So I have to temper those feelings we get when we see Mitch McConnell leaking reports to the New York Times about how he doesn't mind the direction the impeachment trials are going in. I don't know. From the very beginning, I am very confused about this calculus that the Republican Party has made by essentially handing over control of the party to Trump. It is in their long-term interest if they say they are disgusted by the actions, by this breach of norms, and that they have their own ambitions as well, that they would like to convict him because they all know that he did what he was impeached for. And if they were able to bar him from running again, like that would only serve their ambition as well. But, clearly they either don't mind that the president has unleashed this norm busting, law breaking sort of racist rhetoric on the country and doesn't mind the voters he sometimes brings up. But I think, as we've seen in Georgia, that those voters don't really turn out if it's not Trump on the ballot. I don't know. It's astounding that this sort of system of what we read about in like Federalist Papers and how our constitutional system is supposed to be checked by ambition from others' ambition, that the Republicans don't see this as an opportunity, as an absolute win to just jettison Trump right now when he clearly has no further. I like to believe he has no further, like, there's nothing left to give to the party, and certainly not to the country in terms of like electoral strategy.
Yeah, I think there is a difference though between having something to give the Republican Party and having something to give the country. I think you're right about everything you said, and I think we're going to be hammering this home for the next 2 or 4 years, but that most Republicans are running scared of a primary challenger from their right, more so than they're scared about a general election. There are a few exceptions to that, but most of them are scared to death of seeming anti-Trump to their voters, their primary voters, and some Trump approved, sycophant, beats them in a primary and then loses in a general election in a race, in a purple state, say Florida, where there aren't enough, once Trump's not on the ballot, there aren't enough people to turn out for somebody that's hard right. And I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. Go ahead.
And once Trump he doesn't have his social media bullhorn anymore to direct his fury onto these people publicly, and like reaches, as we'll talk about later, reaches more people, and like, I don't know, it just seems like their incentives to stand up to Trump have never been greater than they are now.
Right. And I think maybe the Georgia elections were an example of finally Trump isn't on the ballot and the two Republican candidates were tied to his hip, and they still lost there, and it wasn't particularly close. I mean, it was, it wasn't a blowout, but it wasn't,
Well,
a
John
recount of
Ossoff like
vote.
overperformed. They both overperformed than they did in November, which
Right, right. Um, so yeah, I think we're going to be trying to figure out where Trump's place is in the party, regardless of if he's convicted and prevented from running for office. People who love him and who are willing to storm the Capitol aren't going to care that he's barred from running for office. They're still going to go to rallies if he has them. They're still going to, listen to his media organization or when he calls into Fox News or Newsmax.
And they're not going to listen to Nikki Haley or Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio in the primary either. They're not
Exactly.
Rubio voters. They never were Rubio
Exactly.
voters.
No, and that's why Rubio didn't win.
Yeah.
It is Trump's party until we're proven different, and I don't know that we will be for a long time, unless you see certain states. I've seen talk that Mitt Romney might not run on the Republican ticket at some point, might run on like the Utah party or whatever, or something more like that. You see talk about Lisa Murkowski leaving the Republican Party. I would welcome those moves, but I don't think it makes a big difference nationally.
Well, it makes a big difference in states where they have these sort of like ranked voting or some sort of system besides just a general like election first past the goalpost, where they're sort of insulated from these sort of whims, which should be a signal to all of us that perhaps maybe we should change our voting systems to allow more independent behavior. But yeah, I'm not
totally
hanging my
agree.
hat on any Republicans showing courage right now. They've had 4 years and one previous impeachment to do so.
Right. They had a chance already. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to count to like 5 Republicans maybe that could vote to convict, but once you get past those 5, you really start grasping for names of people who just haven't stood up to Trump ever and just aren't likely to.
And I think you're also seeing like you mentioned Lisa Murkowski and Mitt Romney running on not Republican tickets. You're having the same sort of pull in the other direction where you have like the Q caucus and like patriot parties being formed, pulling the Republican Party in the other direction. So I don't know, not my problem, but it is our problem.
No, it's our collective problem. Yeah, no, totally.